Can you think of the only time in practice where your players can get the most live work in? I'm not talking about running through drills or small group activities. I'm talking about being in the field at their position, getting live balls hit to them, and having them make plays like it's a game. If you're thinking about team batting practice, then we're on the same page. Batting practice isn't just hitting practice. It's the one opportunity for your entire team to practice the three big areas of baseball: offense, defense, and base running. But even though BP is the best time for your players to get the most work in, many youth coaches don't take advantage of this time, and their BP sessions are basically free time for their players where they can be lazy, goof off, and not pay attention to baseball. In today's Bullpen Bulletin, I'm taking you through my exact method for a complete, efficient batting practice that will have every player practicing baseball skills and not practicing standing around skills. Hey team, it's Coach Hart with Building Better Baseball, the best place for baseball education. If this is your first video and we've never met before, I want to say welcome to the team. If we've already met and you've seen a few of my videos already, then I want to say welcome back. I created this channel specifically for youth baseball players and coaches to help them improve their game. So if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my weekly videos. And before we dive in, I put this video into a PDF downloadable guide that you can take with you. It's down in the description. It's free, and you can take it with you to your next practice so you can use it as a reference. Now, let's make sure that you take full advantage of your batting practice time. The first piece we're going to discuss is offense, and we're going to talk about the hitters. My first tip about the hitters is how to choose the order that they hit in for batting practice. My rule for BP order was always hit in the order that you arrived to practice that day. So the first person to arrive to practice will hit first in BP. The second person to arrive at practice will hit second, and so on. That has always been my rule for batting practice order. And this accomplishes two things. One, it takes the pressure off of you to decide what order the players will hit in every practice. It prevents a full team of 10-year-olds surrounding you, waving their hands in your face saying, "Can I go first? No, I'm going second. He always hits first." And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. And number two, this was always incentive for the players to arrive early to practice. They knew that if they arrived early, they would hit early in BP. And I know they can't drive, but at least they can go up to their mom and say, "Mom, hurry up. I want to be first to practice so I can hit first in BP." This is just something that has always worked for me, and it'll save you a lot of headaches. Now, let's get into the BP. First, you want to always be sure that you have someone on deck who's ready to hit. This will make transitions much smoother and quicker for you. The on-deck batter should always be engaged in some sort of drill warming up, like hitting off of a tee. You don't want them standing there doing nothing. Make sure that they're active. Now we're going to get into the hitting sequence for the batter. There should always be a progression of swings that the batter works through for the entire BP session, and this is the progression that I use. First, have the batter start with 3 bunts. 1 sacrifice bunt to each baseline, 1/3 and 1/1, and then 1 bunt for a base hit. Give them about 4 or 5 tries and then move on. In addition to working on bunting skills, bunting allows them to see the ball, develop hand-eye coordination, and gauge the speed of the pitches so that they're better prepared to hit when they start to swing. Second, after bunting, it's time for a hit and run if you have a sign for it. This means that no matter where the ball is pitched, the batter has to try their best to get the ball on the ground, preferably to the right side of the field. And if you don't have a hit and run sign, then you can move right into opposite field hitting for about 3 or 4 pitches. I believe that opposite field or outside pitch hitting is one of the most overlooked aspects when it comes to hitting in youth baseball. Most players, they don't know how to hit the outside pitch, and that's going to hurt them as they grow older and the pitching gets better. If you teach them early, it'll help them better understand the strike zone and how to hit to all fields. Once they hit to opposite field, then they're ready to hit anywhere. I always told my players that they have 6 to 8 good swings. The number of players that you have at practice that day will determine how many good swings each player gets. The less players there are, the more hits everybody gets. During this time, the batter should only swing at good pitches, and they should try to drive the ball to all fields. And unfortunately, there's always going to be a few players who are really struggling and they just can't seem to make contact. And as much as we want them to succeed, we can't spend all night trying to get them to hit the ball. Put a cap on the number of swings and be conscious of the other players who still have to hit and how much daylight is left if you're practicing in the afternoon or the evening. Make sure on the last swing that the batter runs to first base as if it were a game and have the defense make the play as if it were a game. That runner is now going to stay at first base and they're going to base run. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Number 2, the second piece is the base runners. There should always be a runner who's running the bases during every hitting session. And there's not really a right or a wrong way to go about this, but there definitely should be a base runner. My method was to always use the hitter who just finished hitting, who just ran out to first, have them be the runner because they're already there and they already have their helmet on. And if something else works for you, if you have another method, then by all means do what works for you, but always make sure that there's someone practicing base running. If you're going to do my method, then make sure that the last person who's hitting BP that day, they run first when BP starts. If you forget to do this, then that batter, when they're batting and they're done and they run out to first, they won't have a chance to do base running because there won't be any more batters left. So the last person hitting BP should always run first at the start of batting practice. The runners should be practicing their primary and their secondary lead off of first base while the batter is bunting. Whether they're old enough to lead off of the base before the pitch or not, everyone can practice their leading during the bunting time. After bunting, the base runner is going to run the bases exactly as if it were a game, based on where the hitter hits the ball. If they get out at second or third base, then they're just going to stay at that base. Once they're running home, then they're going to peel off to the third base dugout, they're going to get some water and their fielding gear, and get back out to the field. Number 3, the third area, is the defense. I like having 2 buckets that are on the field. The first one is at the grass line right behind second base. And if you have any assistant coaches, then you can put one on the bucket and have them catch the balls from the players. And if you're coaching by yourself, then you can just leave it out there and have the players put the balls in the bucket. I never liked assigning a player at the bucket because that takes away from their fielding reps. Everyone needs to practice as much as they can at their position. The second bucket is for the first baseman, and that's for the first baseman to put the balls in the bucket that are thrown to him. Everyone should be playing the position that they play in the game. Now, if they have a serious interest in trying out a new position, then that's fine. But it is a huge waste of time to have players playing a position that they would never play in a game. That only fosters an environment for playing around, goofing off, and that takes away reps from the players who actually do play that position. The next one is a big one. Everyone should treat every single ball as if it were a game. They should take their pre-step every single pitch, and they should take at least 2 to 3 steps towards the ball no matter where it's hit, even if it's on the other side of the field. So if you're at third base and the ball is hit to right field, you still pre-step and you take 2 to 3 steps towards where the ball is hit, no matter where it is. This will help improve their reaction time when the ball is actually hit to them. As a coach, be sure to keep everyone focused during batting practice and make sure everyone's getting their work in. It is very easy to get distracted during batting practice. One way you can keep them focused and hungry for the ball is to make a game out of it. Do something like a point system for every ball that they get. Every ball you field cleanly and you make the play, you get a point. Or you could give incentive for something after practice, like less conditioning or something. Do whatever you need to do to keep them focused on making the plays. Because remember, if they make them in practice, they're going to make them in the game. Now, as I said before, I put this video into a PDF downloadable guide for you that's down in the description. This free batting practice guide covers exactly what we just did in this video, and you can take it with you to your next practice and use it as a reference. It's free and I made it for you. Be sure to grab it before you go. So I'd love to know your thoughts about this video. Did this video change batting practice for you? Did everything make sense? Make sure you leave a comment down in the comment section. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope this video helped you understand how powerful batting practice is and how you can use it to your advantage to have every player practice all areas of baseball. I'll see you next week for another edition of the Bullpen Bulletin.